Hello and welcome to today's edition of Political Voice. My name is Sumto Ajama. There is a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but we have two stories on our radar this evening, starting with pro-Wike lawmakers issue fresh ultimatum to Fubara, demand Let's go on a quick break and we'll be right back.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP this morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports and even entertainment. Join us weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health, without distinction of race, religion, or political belief. On VOP TV, we bring you Health Check, a show that x-rays different health issues and provides solutions with the help of experts in the medical field. Join us every Tuesday from 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Health Check. Health Check on VOP TV. Your health, our priority. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before. From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space. Exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
Catch up with the latest topics making the buzz, the stories that take, the trends. Let's let you in on why they are trending, from politics, entertainment, business, lifestyle, and more. Analyzing the trending stories with top eyeballs. Hashtag on Voice of the People Television, giving you an insight to everything and everyone Nigeria is talking about. Showing on VOP TV, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Hashtag if it's trending, we bring it on. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health without distinction of race, religion, or political belief. On VOP TV, we bring you Health Check, a show that x-rays different health issues and provides solutions with the help of experts in the medical field. Join us every Tuesday from 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Health Check. Health Check on VOP TV. Your health, our priority.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP This Morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports, and even entertainment. Join us weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries. Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space. Exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP This Morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Welcome back to Political Voice. My name is Sumto Ajama. And of course, we'll be going straight into conversation, starting with the Rivers State House of Assembly under the leadership of Martin Amawile, asking for a representation of the budget to be resubmitted before the State House of Assembly. The Rivers State House of Assembly under the leadership of Martin Amawile has given Governor Siminalayi Fubara a 7-day ultimatum to resubmit the 2024 budget for review. VOP reports that this directive came after the pro-Wike faction of the House convened for their first meeting for the first session in several months on today. Previously, Governor Fubara had presented the budget to the Oko Jumbo faction, which supports him, and his Chief of Staff, Edison Ehie, presiding as Speaker. And Ehie and the pro-Fubara lawmakers passed the budget estimate, and the governor subsequently signed it into law, highlighting its goals of fostering economic development, inclusive growth, and reducing socioeconomic inequality in the state. But of course, before we go straight into conversation, let's welcome our virtual guests, starting with Dr. Hassan Sadiq. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And of course, we also have CP Inwomo, retired police commissioner of Oyo State. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you too, and thank you for accommodating and tolerating me.
You're very welcome. So we'll dive right into conversation because, of course, this is a topical issue in Rivers State. Before we even go any further, it's important to note if there is indeed a need for the resubmission of the budget, the 800 billion naira estimate budget that Governor Siminalayi presented in January before the Edison Ehie-led House of Assembly at the time. And at this point in time, the 27 lawmakers, pro-Wike loyalists, had already defected from the PDP to the APC at this point in time, prompting the governor to present this budget to the Speaker, to the House of Assembly as led by Edison Ehie at the time. So my question, and I'll start with you, Dr. Hassan, is that by law, is there a need to represent this budget? Now, we have to bear in mind that, again, they had defected at the time. The budget was presented to the 5-man House of Assembly at the time and then signed and passed into law. Is there a need for this budget to be represented legally by law?
Yes, thank you for having me. First of all, if you look at it, before we go into detail, I've said at that time that the river crisis will continue until 2027. Then the election will now determine the end of the issue, or the issue will continue. Now, coming back to the budget that was submitted, where it has been passed about over 800 billion, that the way the Fubara administration presented to the House of Assembly as at that time. During that time, the 5 people who had presented the budget to, and then now go through and pass, it has become a law. Because before then, the other members of the State House of Assembly has defected from the PDP to APC. And while by constitutions at that time, once you have been living, you are no longer part of that party and all that. So the budget of Fubara submitted, it stands as it is become a law. Because today, all the money he has been spending in terms of priority projects, capital project, other part of the budget that was submitted are based on the budget approval that was given to him at that time by the current House of Assembly of Rivers State. It is standing, it is a law, and it has to continue. So, except now, there's a need for supplementary budget. That is where he can now come now and say, okay, he's submitting supplementary budget, because he has been spending money since the government is now over 1 year. So that is where he derived the power of his expenditure, both recurrent and capital expenditure. As at today, it is standing as a law. There's no need of resubmitting the budget again, because he has passed and has become a law and has been running that law. Yes.
All right, I'm going to redirect that question back to you, CP Chooks, particularly because there was a judgment at the time going back to the decision by Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, nullifying the 800 billion naira budget that we're talking about that was submitted in January. So would you say that this proposal or this ultimatum, because that's what it is, this ultimatum given by the Martins Amawale House of Assembly, given to Governor Siminalayi Fubara, pardon me, telling him to resubmit that budget in 7 days, goes back to this decision by the Federal High Court in Abuja in January? Or this is just the Martins Amawale faction saying this just because they want to be in the know of what is happening? CP Chooks, are you there?
Yes, I am there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Well, the issue of the ongoing imbroglio in River is very unfortunate, and it's a very complex scenario. It is complex in the sense that the provisions of the Constitution is very clear. And the Constitution is clear in the sense that it says that once you move out of your party to another political party, you have lost your local standing to remain in that house, to be a member of the house. Now, as we speak, that has been a contentious issue before various courts. And moving further, we now ask the 5 members of the House of Assembly, did they in any way constitute a quorum to have given a tick or to have passed that budget into Appropriation Act or law? That's another $1 million question. So when you look at the two sides of it, you see that the only solution in what we are seeing, all this going to court, moving from this court to the other court, may end up not solving their problem. They have to come up with a political solution to this problem by both sides of the coin.
Thank you very much, CP Chooks.
We need to sit down and tell themselves the truth. They will continue to do. Yes.
Thank you so much. There was also the peace treaty by the president when the president intervened at the time, trying to broker a peace accord between Wike, Fubara, and there were also a number of people who were also signatories to that peace treaty at the time. And of course, the River State, the APC chairman of River State, Tony Okocha, was also one of them, among a number of other people. And in that peace treaty, one of the 8 resolutions reached, again, this is backed up by the president because he intervened in that case, was that the budget would be represented, that the governor, Fubara, would represent the state budget to a properly constituted River State House of Assembly. And of course, you would recall that that peace treaty was along the lines of the defection and, of course, the crisis that had existed with Fubara and Wike, still existing between Fubara and Wike. So, again, does this go back to the bringing the decisions of that peace treaty into reality today, now that the Court of Appeal has nullified the expulsion of the lawmakers, the pro-Wike lawmakers, and they're now back in the House of Assembly? And I want Dr. Hassan to quickly respond to that before we talk about the fact that there are 2 different houses to even begin with.
Yes, you see, if you look at it, there's no way, yes, even the court now do that. But first of all, let's look at the peace accord. To me, currently now, the level the issue has gone to, there will be no political solutions. that can solve the problem. The only political solutions you can look at that will solve the problem, it is the governor to show that he is the governor of the state and he will govern the state. Then while the opposition who are fighting him will be able to see whether if they have what it takes.
How is he expected to do that, Dr. Hassan? How would you propose that he makes himself known as the governor of the state, other than the fact that he's already the governor of the state?
Yes, it's the governor of the state. It's for him not to tolerate all these crises they are creating in the state. Okay, do you remember what happened in those states? As early beginning of the current administration, what happened? The legislative never have a place to sit until the man finish his tenure, because it has got to that level where the governor needs to prove his own might, irrespective of what happens. That is number one. Two, if the Court of Appeal has given a judgment that these people, they are still a legislator and everything, they must go and appeal.
Well, the Victor Okojumbo has said that they have filed an appeal to the Supreme Court. So, of course, we're waiting for the results of that.
The man has to continue working as the state. Why those people will not have access to get to the State House of Assembly? For them to even have what is asking for, the submissions of the budget. Because it's like we are putting the state at the middle. Yes. So, how can that be possible? How will the state now make a progress? So Fubara need to think a new strategy to it, because if you look at it here, as Mr. Chuk has said, Constitution is very clear. Once you come from a particular party, you are no longer. How now did the Court of Appeal now give a judgment on that regard? So they now have to file an appeal into Supreme Court to look at it critically. So, but before then, the governor has to take a step, moving the state forward without distractions. Because there's a reach. For you to attain peace, you must prepare for war. That is the level where the state level has gone to. That is why I said the man needs to take a different dimensions to prove that you cannot destabilize the state. And we have it in other states here, what has happened. So River State cannot be different from other states.
Talking about if you want peace, you have to be ready for war. This war, now I know that, of course, that's a saying, but if you're looking at it in the context of River State, there is every indication, or at least people are talking about the fact that there is every indication that slowly but surely there might have to be a declaration of a state of emergency in the state. And going by what you've said, if you want peace, you have to be ready for war. Then should we expect conflict to escalate to a state of emergency? And I ask that again because as we speak, the fact that this House of Assembly, this Martins Amawule House of Assembly has sat down today and had plenary and come up with this idea for the budget to be represented and this is aside the fact that Okojumbo faction also sat today to induct a commissioner, at least to have him considered for the position, to screen and confirm him for a commissioner today. So there are two different houses of assembly backed by law and both still performing legislative duties. So this, of course, people are talking about the fact how much this would affect Fubara's governance. Now, you're saying he should take a different step of action. I'm going to redirect this question just to hear CP's thoughts on that. CP Chooks, when Dr. Hassan says the governor should take a different course of action, and he also says if you want peace, be ready for war, people are talking about the need for a state of emergency. How do we collate all these issues in the fact that the ongoing situation is the fact that there are two different houses of assembly, both backed by law, both currently operating legislative duties?
Well, you see, that boils down to what I said ab initio, that the confusion has set in, and with this confusion on ground, it is the masses that are suffering. It is the people of River that are going through hell. Because it's a clear case of when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. And that boils down or goes back to what I said initially, that the way forward, all lovers of peace across the federation, irrespective of their tribe or religion or creed, should be interested in what is happening in the Rivers. Because Rivers State happens to be the treasure base of the nation. Much of the oil we are getting, even though we are using them to settle debts, the debts internationally, you cannot treat Rivers with levity or with of hand. And for somebody to think of war will not be the solution. Rather, it will be a judge thing where it should be, win-win situation. That's the direction they should be looking at.
Yeah, so CP, when you say when you said there's a need for a political solution, because that was what you said earlier, what does this political solution actually mean? What does it practically mean? Is there a need for the president to weigh in again? Or who are the stakeholders that we think that can promote this political solution and bring peace to Rivers for the sake of the masses, of course?
Well, the stakeholders I'm talking of captains of industries who are well respected. Then some other statesmen, people like Edwin Clark, Emeka Anyoku, those elder statesmen should also intervene. Somebody who is also well respected, like the Sultan of Sokoto, should also come in, and some governors. They should come in, call everybody to a round table. Both the Fubara, who is on the executive side, and the legislators, and they should make it clear to the legislators that if you go by the law, forget that they are getting judgments that seem to be favorable to them. It may be favorable to them today. When it goes to a higher level, it may not be favorable to them again. And then at the same time, it will be made clear to the present members of the House of Assembly, the present 5 members, for them to see the reason and need that 5 of them we cannot form a caucus if they make reference to the Constitution. And if you say, okay, let us stick strictly to the law, what we are going to get at the end of the day is that those 27 have lost their seats. That means we're going to conduct election into those vacant seats. So how are you going to achieve that with all the problems in that direction? They will also go to court again. So it will be 1 step forward, 5 steps backward. And lo and behold, the masses will be suffering. And we also have to look at the direction of the governor, because if the governor decides on his own to say he has executive powers, that he has to go and implement the contract that has approved his authentic budget, the thing may also back.
Thank you very much, CP.
For now. So that's the thing, that everybody should put their thing up, the masses.
Thank you very much, CP.
And the people of Rivers State.
Thank you. There definitely is another story and or another twist to the story, because as we speak, the Port Harcourt Division of the Court of Appeal today dismissed 2 appeals filed by the local government chairman or former local government chairman that were loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike. These appeals basically were coming off the heels of the fact that they were dismissed previously because their tenures had lasted or had elapsed, and now there was the caretaker committee that was instated. So now they have filed, and the Court of Appeal has dismissed those suits. So now that the Court of Appeal has dismissed these appeals by the former local government chairman, does this now mean that the caretaker committee stands? And I ask this because, again, there are assertions all over about the fact that now that the Martins and Mawuli-led House are back as members of the State House of Assembly, and they were the ones who extended the local government chairman's tenure by 6 months in the first place, does this now mean that the fact that they were the ones who put that in place and they're back means that it stands? or does this mean that the caretaker committees still stand as instated by Governor Fubara? I'll direct that one to Dr. Hassan very quickly so that we can move on.
Okay. Yes. Even if they went to court, the Constitution was very clear about that. It is 3 years and their tenure has expired. And states cannot, they make laws. They cannot be able to extend that power because they were there based on the people's vote. It is the people of Rivers who conducted the elections through the processes of INEC and give them the legitimacy to stay there. When it now expires, there's no anywhere the legislature can now become and say they're extending their tenure. But if it is vacuum, and the governor at that time now said, oh, you can now become a caretaker, that is quite a different thing. But for them to say that because legislature is now extending their stay, the governor cannot tell them to leave, or neither the legislature there cannot override the constitutions. So there's no way. But since they have went to court, we are going to see what is also going to happen. So these are the things you see in our country where executive, judiciary, legislature, then things sometimes are turned upside down. Some judgments are coming, it's against what the Constitution has stated clearly. Technicalities is what they are now using to avert so many judgments or whatever. If you look at it, your tenure has expired. There's no way the State House of Assembly can extend it, because it is the people's vote that brought you there. It is not by legislations. So legislation does not have power to extend your stay. So this is the positions of the law.
I also have to ask, because if the budget is supposed to be represented according to what Martins Amaule and that faction of the House of Assembly is claiming, does this, by the same logic, does this mean that every decision taken by the Okonjo-Iweala-led House and by Fubara at that time, such again as the caretaker committee, is null and void, or now it needs to be redeliberated before the full House?
Do I continue?
Yes, please, Dr. Hassan, that's for you.
You see, there's no way simply because from the date they decamp from PDP into another party, which they are no longer seated there. So whatever happened, they have no issue over it. Even the court now come back and said, oh, you are now reseated, you have to go back. They cannot go back and reverse the state. Are you reversing everything? It is not possible, because vacuum certain area cannot be created. When you people voluntarily leave PDP, then the state has to move on. So you cannot now say simply because you are now back, everything that we have done that was not done when you are there need to be reversed. So this is where the crisis of River State will continue. That is why I earlier said that now the level River crisis is. I might not see any political solution, because if the State House of Assembly that they call today is okay, people can now come back and sit down. What they could have to do is to continue from what they met and now continue. But they are now the one now asking reversal of everything. You can now see that they are trying to make the state ungovernable. So, which means there's nothing you are going to tell them that they will agree, because they feel that they are now part of the State House of Assembly. Whatever that was done, simply because the numbers at that time, either you call it is not from decorum or to reverse. Then the state, the local government chairman should return back to their seat, because they are the one who at that time possibly passed the law that extended their stay. This is the problem.
All right.
So you can now see.
Of course. Back to you, CP Troops. Going by what Dr. Hassan has said, it is imperative to note that these two houses are clashing with each other at the moment. Critics are talking about the fact that two houses doing two different things, fulfilling two different, still legislative duties, but of course executing different duties at this point in time is questionable, and of course it's disturbing. And as he said, whether or not it leads to making the state ungovernable or not, it affects directly the effectiveness of Fubara's governorship as it stands. So where do we go from here? You talked about a political solution. Dr. Hassan does not exactly agree with that. But in terms of the leadership, or at least the State of Assembly that Governor Fubara would be held accountable by, would that now be the pro-Wike faction that's led by Martins Amaule, or the Okonjo-Iweala faction that's loyal to Fubara? Because again, two separate houses of assembly. How is that supposed to work? CP please.
You see, that is where I said that there is confusion. Yes, that is exactly what I meant by the confusion on the ground will aggravate the situation presently because nothing will work. That's why I said that you do one step forward, 5 steps backward. And it is going to be like this for some time. As per the judgment of the court, I am certain that it's going to be challenged by the executive. They'll still go to court to challenge the position of the court, the High Court, Federal High Court, or whatever, on the position of the defected members of the House of Assembly who left PDP, the principal member who left PDP to APC. So whatever judgment has been given, I don't see that judgment staying for a long time because they go to appeal to see that they truncate the decision. And if they do that, the 27 with Wike again may also head to the Supreme Court. Maybe it is at the Supreme Court that all these things will be sorted out. But at what cost and in terms of time? It is going to take some time, and the masses and the people will continue to suffer. And at the same time, the governor too needs to be well guarded based on the law, because if he decides on his own to start implementing the budget based on what the five passed, as law, the Appropriation Act for the state. What of if at the end of the day at the Supreme Court violates, voids whatever position he thought, that the law covers him to do? That would be a bigger problem for him, because they would have said, why didn't you wait to sort out this?
Is it not a little too late for that, CP2?
Issues before you go ahead to defend them.
CP was asking, is it not a little too late for that, being that this budget was passed and signed into law by the Edison Ehe House of Assembly in January, and we're in July? Isn't it a little too late to backtrack the monies that he must have spent from that budget already?
Well, that is exactly. You see, they have to make some corrections. And for them to make this correction, there has to be a consensus of opinion of all the members, both the aggrieved on both sides. They need to sit down. And that's why I said that a lot of other Nigerians who love that state and the people of that state should one way or the other intervene. Especially people like Baba Clark. He needs to come in, Chief Edwin Clark. He needs to come in now and put this rule on round table. All other respected Nigerians, captains of industries, and even some governors need to intervene.
Thank you very much.
The direction the thing is going is not in any way palatable.
Thank you so much. The subject of River State is very much one that is topical, and one that a lot of people, aside the people of River State, or especially the people of River State, are very worried about. Because again, this is a godfather, godson situation that has segued into the judiciary and now back into the State House of Assembly. And this has massive impact on the people. So at the end of the day, of course, as the events unfold, we'll bring updates on the story. But quickly, let's talk about the next story. And this one has to do more with the Emirate tussle as exists currently. The chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC in Kano State, Abdullahi Abbas, has responded to the chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Hashimu Dungurawa, over a comment that was about President Bola Tinubu's failure to intervene in the state Emirate tussle. According to the report, Dungurawa had told Tinubu that his silence on the Kano State Emirate tussle is no longer golden and may cost him the 2027 presidency. To this end, he urged President Tinubu to take action and ensure that the deposed emir, that Ado Bayero, is banished from Kano State. Dungarawa talked about this when he was speaking to newsmen. But according to the NNPP chairman, the ongoing emirate is already giving the president bad name. The ongoing emirate crisis is giving the president bad name, and he should intervene sooner than later. Abbas, of course, that's the chairman of the APC, responded, saying that APC is now more united and popular, and it will deliver triple of what it delivered, the votes that it got delivered in the previous election in Kano. According to Abbas, he's saying that Governor Abba Yusuf and the national leader of the NNPP, that's Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, would be defeated in the 2027 election due to their approach in governance issues or to governance issues. He added that while some other state governors are commissioning projects to mark their 1 year in office, Governor Abba Yusuf is using the emirate tussle to distract people from his failure in office. Now, before we come to that very bold assertion, let's have a conversation about the fact that Dungarawa is calling on the president to intervene in this emirate crisis. Yes, if you please. He's saying this because, according to him, the people of Kano State are beginning to give the president bad name, and if he doesn't speak up, it will continually just be a bad stain on his name. Now, if we look at the previous story that we talked about, the rivers crisis, when the president intervened, matters, again, arguably, were made worse and not better, talking about what happened subsequently after his intervention. And now that Dungarawa is calling on the president to intervene, is this a wise action? And should the president, as a matter of fact, intervene? Is it in his place to do that? I'll direct that one to Dr. Hassan. Is it in his place to intervene, and would it be for the betterment of the emirate tussle and the people of Kano State if he does? Dr. Hassan, what are your thoughts? Could you unmute your mic, Dr. Hassan? We can't hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you clearly now. Please go ahead.
It is because today in Nigeria we have decided to turn ourselves to politicizing issues and development. If the APC man is calling for the president to intervene in the Emirate Council issue in Kano State, it is the same way where the president is also intervened in the crisis in the country. You could see. Now, if you look at it, anything Emirate as state issue that the federal government has no jurisdiction over. But if you are calling Mr. President to come and intervene, on which side is it coming? Is he now going to support the emir that has been dethroned where he's in court and contesting it? Or is the new one that is in power today that we are now going to support? Because both of them are, and the election they are now trying to link into, which is now saying 2027, every part of Kano State issues there today, you have the current emir having support. The dethroned emir also has support. So the two of them. So for me, you can announce that the president is in Edinburgh. It's in the middle of the oceans. They don't know whether to go to left or to go to right. But the man now decided to keep mood and allow the state to take its actions. Now, they are now linking it to politics that if you don't come and intervene, this is what will happen. So simply because we have turned ourselves to nations where we politicize issue and development. But having said that, I think whatever now happens, the president has to also still come out and make it clear what is the stand of the constitution, so that from there we'll be able to know that, look, in terms of emirate, the federal has no jurisdictions over it. It is a state matter, it is a fair, so that the state can decide to do whatever they want to do, but protecting individual human rights where it affected them directly. Because in the recent times, where the court of Federal High Court in Kano State are now telling them that, look, not supposed to be made, whereby the state said they want to go and innovate the quarters of the emir where the emir the throne was taken. But if you look at it, yes, the state is the state property. But since the court has said, stay clear. Now, if you, is it that time now you want to renovate that particular palace. You can see the problem. So it's got to be compounding. While also some will tell you the state has the right to renovate it, but make the proper provisions of where the dethroned emir to stay, pending the terminations of his case. So we have come to a level whereby do we go to left or do we go to right? So I think for now, the president should now look at it and call both parties to sit down and look at it. Instead of you to drag this case and affected the populace of candidate, how do we resolve it? Let them to come with an idea. Then the president can say, okay, these are his own advice and everything that can sort the situation. And make sure in particular, provide a tight security for the Kano state so that there will be no breakdown of law and order. While we can now wait to 2027 and to see what is the end of the movement of the court. Because the case is already in the court. The president cannot do more. But let him promise the Kano state this day will be a tight security so that no any party can take advantage and bring Kano into disruption and everything, so that there will be peace and security of Kano state. I think this is what the president can do now, while we are waiting for the outcome of the court, before anybody can say this is what we should do or not.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. I'll ask you this one, CP Chuks. The fact that it was said that the presidency, or his silence, the president's silence might cost him the presidential seat in 2027. Now, this was said, and of course, according to what our critics are talking about, it seems like something that the people of Kano are talking about, and of course, not everybody agrees with that. But my question is that assertion that his silence might cost him the presidential seat, is that due to the fact that Kano State amounts for a very high number of votes because it's one of the largest in the north, and of course, it also delivered in the previous election? Is that something we can draw a straight line from to the assertion saying that his silence just might cost him the seat, the presidential seat? What are your thoughts on that, CP Chuks?
Anybody saying that his silence might cost him his position in 2027 is not a serious-minded person. That's just it's preposterous for any politician to say that, because there's no nexus between what is happening and 2027 election. The fact remains that what is happening in Kano is very unfortunate. It has nothing to do with the presidency. It is something that concerns, is a state matter. It's a decision that lies with the state government and the governor of the state. It is so unfortunate that the top party functionaries are now using their position to go and bring in the issue of federal high court and state high court, when the thing is so glaring, it is so obvious. But they come to think of it, in 2019-2020, when the former Emir, the 14th Emir, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, was removed, there was no argument. There have been a very refined and civilized traditional ruler, just walked away. He didn't challenge anybody, he didn't go to any court, he stayed away. Now, why is it that a new government has come? Because some people believe their position at Abuja, they can now begin to use some courts to manipulate and begin to cause confusion and trouble in a peaceful place like that. To the extent that they are now having two MS. Have you ever seen such a thing before? So I know at the end of the day, justice will come to play and fairness will come to play. My only prayers is that Kano people should try as much as they can to restrain themselves and maintain peace. This route that I don't want to, discuss more on it because it is a matter before the court. Let us see how it's going to play out. I'm sure at higher levels, by the time it goes to Court of Appeal and maybe to Supreme Court, that is where we will now know whether the powers of the state government have now been eroded. What what the Constitution has provided, whether it has now been eroded because of some political interest. So as far as the situation is concerned, the president has no role to play unless he wants.
Thank you so much, CP Chooks. Thank you so much, CP Chooks. This matter definitely is one that critics and netizens and citizens as well are talking about because, of course, it threatens the traditional institutions as we know. And now the call from Dungurawa, that's the chairman of the NNPP, to the president asking for his intervention, saying that his silence could threaten his presidential seat come 2027 is also a cause for concern. Because again, as CP Chooks has said, does this mean that it erodes the position of the state governor to have the final say on the subject of who becomes emir in the state? Of course, these are questions that we'll be waiting for answers as events unfold. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you, Dr. Hassan, for being a part of the program.
Amen.
And thank you to you.
Yes.
And thank you to you.
Yes.
And thank you to you, CP Chooks Inwanwu, for joining us this evening. Political Voice will make a return tomorrow. My name is Sumto Ajama. Good evening and thank you for joining us.